My name's Bamber. I'm the CEO of MineSense's Technologies.
What is MineSense Technologies?
MineSense's Technologies is an emerging mining technology company, and we create sensor-based solutions for ore upgrading and waste rejection for large-scale, typically base metal mines, but we have an increasing application in precious metal mines as well.
What was the opportunity with MineSense Technologies and the technology you provided?
Well, it's a perfect storm, Michael. It's a combination of declining grades at established and new discoveries. It's a combination of increasing cost, perhaps even hyperinflation in costs. It's a combination of depressed pricing, perhaps not low prices, but certainly prices that aren't high enough to sustain the current cost level of mining, and an overall decline in productivity at mines over the last 15 years. Which means that in combination, mines are in a terrible situation, that the conventional ways of getting out of that in terms of trying to reach a new level of economy of scale or simply discovering your way out of that situation are just not available.
What is unique about the technology that was developed by your company?
So we've focused on the development of fast, robust, extended range mineral sensors which give us the ability to integrate those sensors physically into material handling equipment that mines have already invested in. For instance, shovels and conveyor belts, where we can, by deploying sensors, for instance, on a shovel in an open pit bench or on a scoop in an underground stope situation, by taking measurements of the actual quality of the ore real time, we can support what's called real-time online grade control and ore routing support, and improve decisions about the destination of that material where, without our technology, mines are simply operating to the plan. With the current levels of accuracy and precision of mine planning, means there is tremendous both loss of value as well as increases in cost due to the high amount of waste delivered to the mill process or the leach process that actually can be avoided.
It sounds like with the process you would be generating a lot of data. How do you make that data actionable for a mine operator?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think there's a new generation of machines in play where there's intelligence on the machine for the operator. For instance, shovels with current mine planning and fleet management functionality on the machine. And not so much that the operator makes the decision themselves, but the decision as to what to do with material that's just been extracted is communicated to the operator local to the machine, and our technology can just interface directly with that system, whether it's Cat MineStar or Komatsu's modular system. There's an interface point right on the shovel where we can affect that change.
What's the process for introducing the technology to miners? What is a typical sales process?
So typical sales process is long. I think we've focused on a four-stage process, which is opportunity identification and testing and estimating the value proposition of the project. Where the metrics are sufficiently strong for the customer, we would move into a trial, which is ideally customer funded. And on successful conclusion of a trial, whether that's of the shovel sense technology or the sorter or bell sense technologies, we would want to then move into an implementation and commercial operations for that customer.
You have a PhD in mineral processing. What are the major trends right now in mineral processing? What are the changes that are happening to the industry?
There's a few things happening in tandem right now. I think within mineral processing, there's ongoing incremental improvement of existing processes. But I think one of the biggest drives that we see are really two things. I think there's been a massive investment in what we would call the sag, ball, float flow sheet. And a lot of operators have realized the limitations of that flow sheet and want to move completely away from that where there's an alternative. So for instance, towards high pressure grinding, water-free circuits, tumbling mill-free circuits to get the energy quotient of those circuits down. I think there's also a tremendous investment, particularly among some of the bigger players, the Anglos and the BHPs, to look at alternative processing altogether. Can you develop processes where you can go from extraction to smelting straight away, or can you go from extraction to leaching straight away and skip some of the more intermediate, cost-intensive processes? So there's a lot happening in combination in the process field that really supports this drive towards energy efficiency and higher resource utilization.
You said something previously about that there seems to be a whole bunch of sensors and data that's coming in about how pieces of particular equipment are operating, but we don't see that as much from the mineral side in terms of analysis that's coming in.
No, you're right. I mean, I often make the point in presentations and fora. There's probably 300 data points, operating data points available around a typical truck or shovel or some kind of mobile asset at a mine site, and not one of those data points relates to the value of the material that asset carries, or the value of the process that it's going to deliver that to. So you can measure tire pressure, vehicle velocity, position, pressure of the oil, temperature of the oil, what was the last maintenance service of the machine, but you don't know what the value of material that it's carrying is. And we want to fix that through our technology.
Thank you very much for your time.
Michael, thanks very much.
My name is Pearce, and I'm a partner at X2 Resources and chair of MineSense.
How did you learn about MineSense?
Andrew came and visited me when I was the CEO of the nickel business within Xstrata good 3 years ago, and introduced me to what he was trying to do.
What intrigued you about the service he was providing?
I think it was, when you look at the industry, I think the industry and our society is going to be challenged by two key things. One is energy and the other is water. And I think this was certainly bringing about a new idea of how to address the energy component of our industry, where instead of trying to solve the problems of the existing downstream facilities, it was really looking at the business and going right upstream and saying, how can I affect the sort of energy equation when it comes to our industry? And I think I was really interested in that sort of approach.
Can you get down to the energy? Was it just had to do with how you were processing the minerals in the most efficient way possible, and another point where you could do that?
Yeah, exactly. So it was, the energy equation was a key driver, but I think it was again saying, when you look at our industry and you look at how people approach mining, you get these large blocks of ore that everybody sort of, after drilling programs, after looking at the ore bodies, you map between those drill holes or the points of interest, and then you assume a certain homogeneity in that block. And I think when you actually go to mine it, you don't mine it in that same block. So it's all about how do you address that issue that's in our industry, and then so taking a view of that block and then actually saying, how can I address that block as early as possible without grinding it and spending all the energy and all the chemicals on that block before I actually able to sort it out.
What does MineSense have to do in terms of introducing its services and products to the industry?
Well, I think the program that MineSense is on right now is to prove up the technology. So that's where the company is right now, is to try and encourage the industry to take an interest in the technology, give them ore samples, give them samples from the industry so they can test the technology on that, and encourage the industry to take an interest in the technology, potentially invest in the technology and or fund trials at their sites that allows the technology to be proven up to a commercial scale, that this can become a tool to the industry in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.